Ingredients for your pumpkin snickerdoodles will be half a cup of unsalted butter, half a cup of sugar, 1/3 of a cup of brown sugar, 1/4 of a cup of pumpkin puree, 1 large egg yolk, 3/4 of a teaspoon of vanilla extract, 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour, 1.5 teaspoons of pumpkin pie spice, half a teaspoon of baking soda, 1/4 teaspoon of cream of tartar, and half a teaspoon of salt. And for your topping, you're going to use 1/4 cup of sugar and 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. All the ingredients for my pumpkin snickerdoodles are at the ready, along with the kitchen tools I'm going to use. I'm going to start with this bowl here. So we're going to start with our half a cup of butter, melted and cooled for at least 10 minutes. I'm going to add that into our first bowl, followed by our half a cup of sugar. And then we're going to add our 1/3 of a cup of brown sugar, tightly packed. And once you have those ingredients in your bowl, you're going to give them a good mix to make sure they're well blended. And once your white and brown sugar is combined with your butter, the next step is to add your 3/4 of a teaspoon of vanilla extract. And after that is added, our next step is going to be our egg. You're going to give it a good crack, and I'm going to add the egg into this little bowl here. As our next step, we're not going to add the whole egg, we're going to take out the yolk very gently. I'm using my hand, but if you have another tool to use for your egg yolk, you can go ahead and use that, and then plop it right in your bowl, and then mix the ingredients together. And once your wet ingredients are combined, our next bowl is going to be used for our dry ingredients, which is starting with our flour, your 1.5 cups. Once you have your flour at the ready in a bowl, we're then going to open our pumpkin puree and then add 1/4 of a cup to our flour bowl. Then we add half a teaspoon of baking soda and then 1/4 of a teaspoon of cream of tartar. And then we add our half a teaspoon of salt. And this is where you would add your 1.5 teaspoons of pumpkin spice before you whisk all your ingredients together. However, I missed this step, but I added my pumpkin spice back into the recipe later on. And once you have those ingredients mixed together, we are then going to add our dry ingredients to our wet ingredients. Using my whisk, I'm just going to gradually add the flour bit by bit to the wet ingredients. And before I add more flour to the bowl, I'm just going to mix it all together. Then we add a little bit more of our flour mixture and then mix that together before we add the rest of our dry ingredients. The more you add your dry ingredients to your wet ingredients, you'll start to see your dough forming. And I'm using a wooden spoon to stir my dough, and it's starting to get a little tough. But I am going to finish mixing while we add our last bit of dry ingredients. And this is where I remembered to put in my pumpkin spice. So that is just added to the last bit of flour and then all mixed together. I did my best to make sure it was all mixed together, but after a while, I decided to give my hands another wash so that I can use them to mix together my dough. Using my hand just made it a lot easier for me to mix my ingredients together after everything was combined. But after my dough is ready, we're going to cover it in saran wrap and then chill it for 45 minutes. Before we take our dough out of the fridge, we are going to preheat our oven to 350 degrees. Then we are going to prepare a baking sheet lined with parchment paper, and I'm going to use a bowl that has my 1/4 cup of sugar and 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. Then give that a little shimmy shake to combine the sugar and the cinnamon. Then we're going to be ready to form our Snickerdoodles. I'm taking the saran wrap off of my dough, and I'm going to use a spoon to help me because it's pretty tough after it's been chilled. We're going to briefly roll the dough into our hands to make a ball, and then we're going to roll it in the cinnamon sugar till it's all covered, and then plop it onto our baking sheet. And this was really fun to make. I really enjoyed rolling the dough in between my hands and then rolling the dough into the cinnamon sugar. These were really fun to make, and plus I got a delicious treat out of it. And then we just keep rolling and rolling and rolling until we fill up our baking sheet or we run out of cookie dough. This recipe for me yielded about 20 cookies altogether. These are all the Snickerdoodles that I got out of my dough. And now that they are ready, they are going to be popped right into the oven for 10 to 12 minutes. And after your cookies are done and cooled, you can enjoy a nice, warm Snickerdoodle. I hope you all have fun eating and creating this recipe. I know I did. And thanks for watching, everyone. Bon appétit.